Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. If everyone can work their way to a table, we'll get kicked off here in just 1 minute. I like that. Dim the lights, kind of create some mood here as we start here today. Welcome. It is amazing to have you here at the Arch Collaborative Learning Summit. At the end of last year, when we held this summit, I thought, I don't know that there's ever a way we can beat how great this summit was. How many of you were here last year? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, about a third maybe. The rest of you, we're going to get up to speed quickly, all right? This is the best summit hopefully you'll be to all year because you are surrounded with the most passionate people in the industry about solving this same issue of helping our clinicians be phenomenally capable, along with their technology, of being superheroes. So I'm thrilled to have you here today. I looked through the content of who's going to be presenting. It looks like it's going to be phenomenal. And just the people in the room as I scrolled through today, I hope you can meet as many people as you can today. I know some of you. I would like to know all of you. So I'm going to be, if I come sit down next to you and start asking weird questions, I apologize, but I want to see what you're learning, how we can learn from each other. So today, I get to just kick off, and you're going to find very quickly that I learn a lot of things from my family. So I'm going to share a couple of things, learnings from my family that I hope can apply to what you're working on. And I've titled this Getting Through the Mud, not just because there's a lot of mud, mucky things in my family, but you'll see where this is going. Our goal this week, to be perfectly clear, is not just to have a lovely meeting with a lot of other passionate people. It is to walk out of here this week with a plan of how you can raise the bar in your own organization because you have learned from some of the best in the industry. And talking with our table this morning, it's fascinating to me that sometimes you just picture the best in the industry will always be a Mayo or a Hopkins, or you go down the list. They are great organizations. Some of the organizations that have had to figure out how to adapt and create and build have been the ones that are presenting this week, that have had fewer resources and have done amazing things with that. So I hope, in fact, one of our best learnings is a lot of the things in the Arch Collaborative that make the biggest difference cost the least amount of money. How often do you get that? Like, that is amazing. So we're excited about that, but we want you to walk out with a plan this week of how you're going to improve the experience for your clinicians. So one of the key messages I want to give is this: it's working. Okay, so this chart here, just to describe, are people that have remeasured this last year. So every bar is an organization that has remeasured. And the message that I get from this is you can actually improve. You can actually help your clinicians have more success. And you can see that over a third of organizations have had an improvement of over 8 points. So if this were high school, you moved from a C to a B, or a B to an A, or wherever you are, you moved up essentially a whole grade letter. And we've also learned that burnout significantly decreases as you keep moving up that scale. One other fascinating fact I just want to show is that organizations that remeasure score 20 points higher on the average. Okay, that's an interesting fact. Like, what does that mean? What do you do with it? As we've dug through the data, here's what we found. If you care, if you focus on this, you can actually make real improvement. So I know some organizations I've talked to have been like, look, we've spent a lot of money, we've done a lot of informatics work, we just feel like we haven't moved the needle. The needle can be moved if you focus on it. And I've seen organizations too that focus on it for a second, then go focus on the other things, and then come back to it and they're like, hey, have we gotten better? No, we haven't. So we think there's some real ways of just focusing on this that you really can make a difference. And we hope you can learn some of those today. Now, just as a quick history lesson for those of you who have not been here all of the 6 years that we've done this, which is probably very few of you, when I first presented at the first one of these, I thought, I want to put myself in your shoes. I don't have a group of physicians and nurses that I have to help wrangle along and help move forward. But I thought, how could I measure a group that I'm really passionate about helping and that I can't control in any way? And by the way, that's my kids. okay? Just to be 100% clear. So I did a survey, or I made up a survey, my own Arch Collaborative parenting survey, where I mimicked as many of the questions as I could of what you had done. So this ties around things like training, governance we tied in. Do you make good decisions? Are you more efficient? All of these things, a lot of things you're measuring, we measured as well with our 6 kids. So 5 boys and a daughter. We have a lot of fun at our house. Sanity is not good, in case you wondered. So we've done this survey, and at first I thought this was sort of kind of a fun, whimsical survey to just do as part of the Arch Collaborative effort. We've now done it every year for the last 6 years as well, and I have learned a lot of things from my kids during that period. So I want to share just the results from last year so I can introduce how we actually did this year. So last year, you can see we measure it the same way you do. We felt pretty good about how we're doing, but I think if we're like you at all, we focus immediately on the same thing you do. Who's in the frustrated group? What's going on there? And how can we make a change? So my family, you can see we're in the 77th percentile, so we're feeling pretty good about this. Although that's compared to doctors. If we compared to your families, we probably wouldn't be anywhere near the same. So as we go into doing the survey this year, I actually get a little bit nervous. I'm like, what are they going to say? And by the way, just to be clear, there's been no bribery. There's been no, hey, if you score well, your allowance will go up. None of that. So here's our results for this year. Unlike all of you, we're not getting better. Our scores went down, and I wonder if I had the same response as you might if your scores looked like this. The N is so small that if somebody is frustrated, it's not fair. And then I thought, what if I just asked them on a bad day? Or what if I had bribed them just a little bit? Like maybe my scores would have gone up. And then once you get through the steps of grieving, like get through the anger and the acceptance and all of this, you're like, how are we actually going to improve? Is that a sign that we're done? Okay. So how are we going to improve? And that's kind of a harder moment. Like, what are you really going to do? And just like you with your organizations, there's not a one-size-fits-all. Here's the one thing that's going to fix everything. And you probably have your biggest detractor in your organization. I picture it's a burly 6'3" cardiologist that's just frustrated and goes to the CEO a lot. Well, I brought my own biggest detractor today in our family, a 75-pound 10-year-old. So Tyler, will you come up to the stage with me for a second, bud? Come on up. Is that on? Test it out.
Hello? Yeah.
Give a 10-year-old a microphone in front of 250 people. I'm not sure how good an idea that is. So, most frustrated participant in our whole survey. And by the way, I have 3 teenagers, and this is the most frustrated participant in the survey. So Tyler, let me ask you this. How do you feel about the fact that your parents survey you every year about how you're doing?
It's kind of funny that you ask me because, like, I can give you the worst score I possibly can or the best score.
So you know you have some power as you do this, is what I'm understanding.
Yes.
So what is it that you like the most about your parents? Like, what do they do well?
They take us on the greatest vacations in the whole world.
So what are some of the best vacations?
Going to Canada and biking.
So mountain biking. So we like to bike together as a family. So you like family vacations, spending time together. What about when your dad comes in at night to kiss you before you go to bed?
No.
10 years old is not the age for that necessarily. So what is it that makes you most frustrated about what your parents do? Like, why did you score so low in the survey?
I need more sugar, Skittles.
He needs more sugar. That is literally the reason we scored the lowest ever in the survey. So if we gave you more like power-ups during the day, that would be a great way to make you happier.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask this. Do you have any words of wisdom for this awesome group of people out here from a 10-year-old?
It's good to ask questions to know what people need and know what people want, and that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tyler. Let's give this courageous 10-year-old a round of applause. And by the way, as you learn what the issues are, it's fascinating to dig in. Sometimes you may think, we're not going to fix that one. Like you may have physicians who say, we don't need or want any more training. And you may say, tough. We're going to do more training. You need more training. So let me introduce you just to a few others in our family. They will not be here in person, but here's the next group of less happy customers at our house. So Simon and Seth both had the same frustrations. And those frustrations were around the questions, do the family rules seem fair? And do I know how to change the rules? And by the way, this was all around the same set of rules, which is curfew. Okay? I don't like the curfew, and I don't know how to change the curfew if I feel frustrated about it. And here's how I thought about this. I thought, shouldn't you just know what the curfew is? You have 3 older siblings, and we talked to them about it. Shouldn't you, by osmosis, know what curfew is? And I realized we haven't really talked about it. So my thought of them soaking everything up by osmosis was not a very good plan. So I wrote down here what my plan is. We need to communicate better. And by the way, as soon as I wrote that down, I thought, that's a horrible plan. Because there's no like, what are we actually going to do? And when are we going to do it? So as soon as I say we need to communicate better, it means next year I'm going to be here saying their frustration is still the same because I don't have a plan about what we're really going to do. Next group, Spencer, age 17, scored an 8.6 out of 9 on our scale. So he's happy. He's a great kid. I'm going to talk about him a little more in a minute. But here's a really interesting thing. With him scoring as high as he did, the highest scorer in our family, there's no trophy for that or anything, in case you wondered. He wrote in his comments, Mom and Dad, you guys have been super busy, and I'm starting to feel that. You guys have been so busy. Okay, well, even though you're doing really well and you're really happy, you can't just be like, fine, you just go do that, and we're going to go be busy doing our thing. So we have to even find the people doing well and keep going with them. And then my last group is the group that we've kicked out of the house, okay? Sam and Leah. If you were here last year, Leah was part of the presentation, sharing what she thought. But the thing I learned last year was I actually skipped counting Leah for a year because she had moved out. And I'm like, look, you've moved out. Like, parenting score doesn't matter anymore. And if you're a parent that's had someone move out, you realize Adam is an idiot, that is not, it's not done. So I've kept them both in the survey, and I'm really glad I did because they're both happy. They're both pleased. So that either means that they finally realize when they move out how great their parents are, or they're so happy that they moved out. Like, I'm not sure which one of those it is, but parenting doesn't end when they move out. And then just on one last serious note, there are questions in here that you probably care about more than others. Like, there's questions about how effective of a clinician are you? Like, that may be the one you really care about. There may be other questions you really care about. The one I really care about most as a dad is, do my parents help me be a better person? Do they teach me to be kind, to help other people, to do good? And I cheered because my kids are like, yeah, you do that a lot, Dad, like trying to help us be better people. So even if I score really low on the, do I get all the food and fuel that I need, Tyler, I feel really happy that this score is the most important to us and that we did well on that. So let me give just one more quick thought, and it's around this guy right here, who is Spencer, now 17. This is Spencer, age 5, okay? And we live close to the mountains, so one of the things we do is mountain bike. It's a great way that Mom has figured out to get all the boys out of the house and burning tons of calories. And one of the things that we learned from mountain biking is getting through the mud. And I'll explain that a little bit as we go here. But this 5-year-old Spencer, we bought his first mountain bike, and it's not a great bike $200. Now that I look back on it, it was like the worst bike ever to train a kid on to mountain bike. And one of the things that he could not do is keep up with his brother, okay? So he had an older brother named Sam who was just fierce out on the mountain biking trails, and he could not keep up at all. So Spencer was always, we call him the slow one at our house, and not just because he's slow on a mountain bike, he just does everything slowly. Have you ever seen a kid like that just like on their own time frame, everything is slow? The great part about that is it's all good. It's always all good. There's no stress, there's no like high drama, it's all good. But kind of funny when you put him on a mountain bike and think, okay, what's this gonna look like? So here's what it looks like, just in case you wondered. So this is Spencer on the trail. And by the way, this is how good a dad I am. I hear that he's crashed. I run over to him. Spencer, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Don't move. Get a picture. So Spencer was kind enough to lay there for just a second as I got a picture, but this is not staged. That is how he looked in the ditch, bike on top of him. But then there's also moments of exhilaration where he's flying, you just feel on top of the world and things are just going really, really well. You may feel like that sometimes. You may feel in the ditch with the bike on top of you. You may feel like, no, we're flying. But so my son, last year, this same time, decides I'm going to race on the varsity team in the high school. So the season's just starting in Utah again right now for the fall. And he's a junior. And so he feels like, I'm ready, but I'm not ready. Meaning, other kids have been doing this for a year. They're ahead of me. They have better bikes. They have better trainers. They've done a lot. But I want to just see how well I can do on my mountain bike this year. So we get ready for the first race, and he's feeling really nervous. Just like, man, I'm racing against all these really, really good kids. And by the way, Utah has some really good mountain biking kids. So we go to the race. The race begins. By the way, the worst sport in the world to watch as a spectator is mountain biking. So you run to a spot on the course, and that's it. Like you can't watch like on TV, like, hey, who's in the lead, like where, like what's going on. You get to see like 3 seconds of the race. So it's horrible in my opinion, like watching the sport. So we go to the spot where we pick. We know it's about 12 minutes in that he'll pass us. Okay, so we've timed, like we know about where he'll be. So we go to that spot, we're standing there waiting, it starts to rain. And not just a little rain, like it's raining, like it's really, really raining. And we're thinking, I wonder how this impacts the race. Like if you're up on the course, like how does that change things? And so 12 minutes in, no Spencer. No other racers as well. We haven't seen anybody come through. 20 minutes in, nobody. 40 minutes in, nobody. Okay, no sign of these kids. Did they cancel the race? Like we're just standing there like in the rain, feeling like idiots, like what's going on? Almost an hour in, the first biker comes through. Okay, so he zooms by. And then about 5 minutes later, Spencer and another kid come by. And I have a video of this I want to show you that is the heart of my message today. Assuming that we can play this. Do you want to ride through the weeds here?
I can't ride. There's too much mud.
And remember, this is a bike riding race where you ride the bike. Let's go, Spence! So this turns from a bike riding event to a bike pushing, a bike carrying. And by the way, once your bike gets so much mud on it, it is so heavy. Like your bike is so heavy. So they're trying to carry, they're trying to push, they're trying to work through the mud on these things. And it was awful from my perspective. And they have to do 3 laps of this. But because it took them so long on the first lap, they all got disqualified, meaning like you didn't hit the time, so you like don't have to finish the rest of the lap. So they did 1 lap in like an hour and a half of running through the mud with their bikes, okay? And so my son, who was so nervous about this race, let me just go one more, ends up in second place. That's my son with the curly hair in second place, his first varsity race. And I will tell you this, he did not win because of his mad bike riding skills, okay? He won because of the grit and determination that when things went off the rails, does this sound familiar? When things go off the rails, you just go through and make it happen. So I haven't talked to anyone about any project where there hasn't been some significant go off the rails moment and the grit and determination it takes to get through the mud. And by the way, his quote was, "It was my favorite race of the whole year." Which was funny because I went to him and said, I'm like, that was awful. Like, we're seeing you, you're running through the mud. He was like, it was so awesome. But sometimes it's awesome in retrospect of like, that was really hard, but just look at what we pulled off, what we were able to do, what we could make happen. So my goal is, as you work through the mud, which you have, staffing challenges, alignment challenges, budget challenges, that as you run through and work through the mud, you can say, we got this, we can make it happen. And then I hope you have a few cheerleaders yelling, you can do it, Spence, that are on your side helping you get there. So thank you for that. Let's get through the mud this week. So let me introduce just our next speaker. That's going to be Jason Hess. Jason is one of our leaders in the Arch Collaborative, and he's going to be working with Connor and Jenna to walk us through some of the data in this next session. Jason.
Thanks, Adam. I'm Jason. Maybe the best way to introduce myself to all of you and to my team is I may or may not be the guy that deleted the entire slide deck for day one last night at 11 o'clock. So if you want to see panic from your peers, just be that guy. But they're all smarter than me and backed it up, so redundancy is a beautiful thing. It's so fun to be here. We have 100 more attendees this year than last year. So it's so cool. Give yourselves a round of applause. It's so fun to be here. I wanted to just begin with a quick story. 20 years ago, just over 20 years ago, I finished my MBA at the University of Utah, just 3 miles up the hill. And that was a tough endeavor for our family. We had 4 young kids, and I was an absentee father for about 2 years. Studying in class, I was working full-time and traveling. So when we finished that and I had that diploma, my wife and I decided we need to go celebrate. But I just made my last tuition payment and we were broke. So the kids were like, Dad, let's go to Disneyland. That'd be so fun. I said, sorry, we're broke. So we decided to get in the minivan and drive to one of the Utah State parks. And while we were there, we ate good food and played in the pool at the hotel and did this awesome hike, took some pictures. The kids loved it. After we came home from that trip, with this new degree in hand, I thought to myself, I need to make a career change. So I got a bunch of resumes and sent them out. And the only company that called me back was a little company in Orem, Utah, called KLAS Research. They had 8 full-time employees. I think I was employee number 9. So after 2 rounds of interviews, I was hired. And it's interesting, my kids recently found the picture 2 months before I interviewed of that family trip. And look at the foreshadowing in the background. So the moral of the story is if you're stuck in your career, go hiking. Because you never know what it's going to tell you about where you will land. In retrospect, we should have been on the other side of the arch because it would have aligned with our logo better. But the kids were tired. My daughter in the white shirt in the front row is Whitney. She's now expecting our 4th grandchild. She works for KLAS and does research. So if she has called any of you, thank you for being nice to her and giving you your feedback. It's amazing what can change in 20 years. 6 years ago, Adam asked me to work on the sales and outreach of this new EHR improvement initiative, still unnamed. It's kind of what we generically called it. Shortly thereafter, it was branded as the Arch Collaborative. And it's been remarkable to see how much this has grown in that time. This is a slide that shows the current 150 Arch Collaborative members. And I know you're all looking for your logo on that slide. Where am I? Now, for some reason, you don't see your logo on that. That may be because of contractual language in your agreement that precludes your logo being used. But just know we see you and we appreciate you. And this is so fun to see what this is growing to. So thank you for that. I will say that in this last year, we've actually added 41 new Arch Collaborative members. So if you're wondering if this group is shrinking and dying, no, it's not. We're having lots and lots of conversations with organizations who want to do this. In fact, we have a term we use internally, the Johnny Appleseeds of the Arch Collaborative, and there are many of you here. These are healthcare provider leaders who've had success with the Arch Collaborative at their current organization, who then leave and want to run the same play with the Arch Collaborative at their new organization. And there are several of you, so we appreciate those efforts. As you measure, as you improve, like Adam talked about, and then share, here's what we're learning, here's what the data taught us. Can we run that same play, Jason, at this new organization? On the Arch Collaborative team, we have 27 members, and so much of our interaction with you all is through Microsoft Teams calls or Zoom calls, or sometimes over the phone, and rarely do we get an opportunity to meet with you in person. So this is a real treat for us, that you've come here to Salt Lake to interact with each other, but also with us. And I thought one of the things we really needed to make sure we did was take time to introduce the members of the Arch Collaborative team, so that while you're here, you can be like, hey, where's my guy? I always talk to them on the phone. I really want to get to know them or talk to them and talk to them about this issue. So I wanted to go through and just introduce these different sub-teams on the Arch Collaborative team. So first we have our leadership team. So if these individuals, my colleagues, are here, if they're not too mad at me for deleting the deck, if you would please stand. Alan, Amy, Bob, Connor, Corey, myself, Jenna, Jeremy, and Tommy. Could you please stand? Give a wave. Here's the leaders. Thank you. And we're not doing this because we want applause, by the way, but thank you. Our next team, the Arch Collaborative Provider Success Team. Alan, Chandler, Colton, Jeff, Catherine, Leola, Mary, and Tracy. Are you here? Could you please stand? Here they are. These are the individuals that run point with your healthcare provider organizations as you measure, as you set up the survey, as you have all these day-to-day interactions and questions and emails. They work really hard working with multiple organizations to work with you. So thank you, Provider Success Team. Our next team is the Arch Collaborative Analyst Team. This is Connor, Amanda, Anna, Jacob, Lauren, Miles, and Tyler. Could you please stand? Here we have them over here. These are the individuals that work behind the scenes to crunch the data, to draw the learnings out of the data, to create some of the great reports, case studies, and other content that we put out. So we really appreciate their efforts. Next is the Arch Collaborative Insights Directors, Tommy, Irene, Kathy, and Jennifer. If you're here, can you please stand? In the back, Jennifer. These are the individuals that present the data back to these organizations as they measure. So helping translate, what does the data mean? And let us present this to your executive team and help try and understand and give best practices of things that you can do to change. And lastly, the Arch Collaborative Vendor Team. This is Corey, Jenna, Allie, and Jill. If you'll please stand. We have a record number of vendors here who are also Arch Collaborative members. These vendors use the data from their healthcare provider customers with permission to take that data to improve, to work as a care team. And we're so excited about the growth in that group of vendors who are now participating, and many of you are here. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Jenna to talk more about this, but I just wanted to say thank you. We're so excited to be here, and let's have some fun together.
Oops. Thanks, Jace. Is this on? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. So Jason just celebrated a lot of the health systems that are participating in the Arch Collaborative today. I've had the pleasure, I've been at KLAS just shy of 13 years, which for those of you that can't tell, that's most of my adult life. And I've really grown up here, and the prior 10 years before I moved over to the Arch Collaborative team, I really worked on our best in class report. So thank you to the providers in the room that share your anonymous feedback about your experience with the technology. I moved over to the Arch Collaborative team, part of KLAS, March 9th, 2020. Does anyone remember what happened that week? Yeah, really great time to switch jobs, learn something new. I had been at KLAS, like I mentioned, at 10 years at that time, but really didn't know what the Arch Collaborative was really about. And I will just share with you how near and dear to my heart all the work that you guys are doing. The past 3 years, I've had the pleasure of working with this group of vendors and firms. I think almost every single person on this slide is represented in this room, so thank you guys so much for being here. This group of vendors and firms is a unique group of individuals. I will share, I've had the experience firsthand to hear from them about how much they are trying to improve their products, their services, overall just their offerings and what they are delivering for their customers. They are here in this room because they want to hear from the health systems that are having success, and overall they want to improve their customer experience. So just a shout out to the vendors that are here that take clinician satisfaction seriously, that are working really hard to prevent clinician burnout, and just really appreciate working with this group. Okay, welcome packet, how your vendors and service firms can help you. Health systems in the room, have you guys read the welcome packet when you've joined the Arch Collaborative, all the great details in there? Anyone read all, how many pages is it, Alan? 20? It's long. I'm gonna highlight a few sections specifically around the vendors and firms. So hopefully you guys can read this, but if you can't quite see it on the screen, certainly encourage you to go back. Your provider success managers that Jason just introduced have the welcome packets for you. There are a few pages in here that talk through, again, the vendors and firms that are participating in the Arch Collaborative, how you can partner and collaborate with them, We've talked about how the Arch Collaborative name is so intentional. We really want to bring like-minded folks together to improve the clinician experience with their EHRs. There are EHR vendor resources in here, so you'll hear actually from the Epic team, Athena Health team, and Meditech team tomorrow about how they have used your data in aggregate to better improve their offerings as your customers. Collaborating with your vendor partners. Raise your hand if you know what a data sharing agreement is. I did this song and dance last year, so I'm hoping that our work over last year has made improvements. Okay, a few hands raised. So a data sharing agreement. This is my one ask of the health systems in the room. We have a data sharing agreement, and as Jason alluded to, these grant KLAS permission to share your organization's Arch Collaborative results with your identified vendor partners. When the Arch Collaborative first started, very focused on the provider experience. We talked a lot about not sharing health system results. We still don't do that. We want to make sure that your data is yours. It is not shared for anyone else to see. But very quickly, folks said, it would be great if my EHR vendor knew what my challenges were from my clinicians. It would be really great for our third-party firms that were helping us with documentation, or we just launched new virtual scribes. Or a third-party firm coming into an optimization project. It would be really helpful if they kind of knew what our benchmark was, what our clinician struggles are today. So if those of you have not signed a data sharing agreement, we encourage you to. We've actually had 154 organizations sign these. This is allowing your vendors to celebrate your success, share those with other customers, identify improvement opportunities, a lot of there are quick wins that can come out of the Arch results if folks know where to focus. And then also just suggesting free and underutilized resources. There are a lot of resources your vendors have that your clinicians maybe not be made aware of, or you even as a leadership team may not be made aware of. So just encourage you to think about ways that you can better partner with your vendor as you go through your Arch data. If you haven't signed a data sharing agreement and you would like to, please work directly with your provider success manager. Keep this in mind. This is certainly not just limited to your EHR vendors. Any third parties that you're working with that you think would be helpful to see your data as you tackle these optimization projects together, we would love for you to share your data where it makes sense. Okay, who can help us? Anyone gotten their Arch Collaborative data back and said, your clinicians are feeling like training is not where it needs to be? Anyone? Okay. About half of the sessions over the next few days, we'll talk about EHR education and some of the obstacles health systems have faced, but then actually overcome some of those challenges and what they've done. I know you guys probably can't see this chart, but I'm going to pull up a QR code for you guys to go check out this report. Especially given the pandemic, many health systems have come back to us after they have surveyed and said, hey, we're really struggling with initial training, or we've lost half of our training staff and we're trying to optimize our training offerings through technology. What technology is out there? What third-party firms can backfill my training staff? We've had these questions come up several times over the years, but more predominantly since the pandemic. So the past year, I was on stage last year and said that this was coming, so it's here. We built out a framework around EHR education to help you guys that are health systems trying to figure out who can help you around EHR education. So this is the framework. This is just a snip of the services offerings. There's a whole software section in there we encourage you to take a look at. We get questions all the time. If vendor A and vendor B are really competitors, do they have the same offerings? We're trying to figure out kind of what our vendor mix looks like. We really hope this framework help answer some of those questions. And then similarly, we just went through the same exercise around clinician efficiency. If you're not familiar with ARCH data, the question around does your EHR enable you to be efficient as possible is the second lowest scoring metric in the Net EHR Experience score. So we're working really, really hard to figure out what tools can actually improve clinician efficiency. So this framework is hot off the press. It just published at midnight last night. So scan this QR code and take a look at that report and see if that would answer some of your questions around efficiency. All right, and then lastly, I just want to highlight, here are 4 case studies that have published since the Learning Center last year. This is just a handful that I wanted to pick. Ultimately, this is what we are trying to achieve in the ARCH Collaborative. A lot of you in health systems in the room have achieved success on your own. Your teams are fantastic, getting through the mud, as Adam talked about, but other health systems have leveraged outside help. So you'll actually hear from Intermountain Health and the work that they did around with Goliath to improve system speed and reliability in their organization. Cottage Health and Chartist improved some of their work around their informatics and their governance structure. Mayo Clinic and 3M saw some improvements around speech and documentation. And then Wahiawa Health and Athena, I actually said that correctly, I have been practicing. Wahiawa Health and Athena saw some really great scores overall in their partnership and how that led to clinician success. So this is ultimately why we're here, you guys. We want the vendors and firms to be at the table with you. We feel like that there's a place for them, and just so excited you guys are all here. And I'll turn the time over to Connor to walk through some logistics over the next few days.
Okay, thank you all for being here. The ARCH Collaborative is really only possible because of you and your willingness to measure your clinicians, to get the hard feedback, to work to improve the experience for your end users. Since our first summit in 2018, was anyone here in 2018? Okay, a handful. I see like 6 hands, 7 hands. We had 90 total people here that summit. We called it a science fair, this little foyer where you got your breakfast. We had all of the signs up of the case studies that we had published, and the entire summit could fit in that foyer for a couple of hours. Since then, we have expanded. There are over 350 people here today, including the KLAS team, but over 300 external attendees. We have published 66 reports. This number has actually changed because a report just published last night. And it's great. A case study published last week too. So over 60 reports, 158 case studies, 103 webinars. 425,000 clinicians have participated in the ARCH Collaborative. These are your clinicians over these 6 years. This is 103,000 physicians, 171,000 nurses, 55,000 allied help. Since our first summit, we've added the trainer quality benchmark, pre-post surveys. We've done workshop events. You can access your data online. We've introduced a peer guidance offering, additional summits, and additional insights on burnout and turnover. Since our first summit, you have attended 11 KLAS events, ARCH Collaborative related events. There have been over 1,000 attendees at these events. We are up to now 1,300, including this event. Dozens of presentations, hundreds of connections. There has been a lot, hours, dozens, hundreds, thousands of hours of time dedicated to this survey, to these results, to these findings. So thank you so much for participating in the ARCH Collaborative. Your efforts are working. Looking at the trending score of the net EHR experience score over time since 2017 when we had our very first organization participate who said, I don't know what this means because I sent out the survey and I don't have a comparison. Since that point in time, we now have a very robust benchmark. We've seen the score improving, especially for providers, jumping up from a 17 to a 40.2. That is an incredible jump. So thank you for working so hard at improving the experience for your clinicians. We wanted to recognize the organizations who have improved the most. These are organizations where their clinicians have taken the survey multiple times, same clinicians, same system, different score. So if your organization is on this slide, we applaud you. Your organization has improved 10 points over your multiple measurements. So let's give a round of applause to this group here. This is incredible. This is supporting what Adam was saying at the beginning of the introduction of this session. You are making a difference. We had a focus group yesterday with the UPerform team, and one of the things we talked about in that room was, I want my trainers to feel like they are doing something well. I want them to feel like they are making a difference. They are helping those who help people. You are doing that. Your teams are doing that. So thank you so much for your time and effort there. We're going to get into the rest of the summit agenda now and what we hope that you get from this presentation. But who here has heard of Zion? Who here has been to Zion? Okay, good. Fair amount of people. Has anyone done the hike, Angel's Landing? Was anyone terrified on that hike? Yeah, me too. So I did this hike just a couple of weeks ago. I took a church youth group on this hike. There were kids from 12 to 18 years old, and hiking myself wasn't bad. Watching them hike was the worst because they don't care about their lives. It's terrifying. And so we did Angel's Landing. You have to have a permit now. It's much better than it was in the past. The scariest part is the waiting. Like when you're moving, it's fine, but when you have to stop and wait for people, if you haven't done it, there are like 5,000-foot cliffs on both sides of you. You have like a 6-foot ledge. There are certain parts where you're scaling a wall and you're holding onto a chain, and it's a scary hike. But at the end, you get this amazing view of the entire canyon just cut out. You're thousands of feet above it, and it's incredible. You can get the same view on a much safer hike. This one is called Observation Point on the East Mesa Trail. It's a little bit of a longer hike, but it's much flatter. You're not hiking on a sheer cliff. You get to the point. You can actually see in the background of, I guess I can't highlight it, but in the background of that second picture, that little cliff that comes out, that is Angel's Landing. So you see Angel's Landing. You're actually a little bit higher. What the analogy that I'm going to make here is this is kind of what we want this Arch Collaborative Summit to be. There are ideas that people have heard of that are common in the industry that maybe sound challenging, and you have to go through this rigorous hike, and there's cliffs on both sides, and it's dangerous if you fail. The only reason I knew about this observation point hike was because someone had been there before, and they took us on this hike. They guided us to this viewpoint. There was no one else on the trail. We got this view. We didn't have to fight the crowds. We didn't have to go through the dangerous cable section of the hike. We didn't have to do Walter's Wiggles, which is the insane switchbacks that you go like 1,000 feet up in 20 switchbacks. It was much easier, but we had someone to guide us. We had someone to show us the way, someone who had been there before, someone who had gone through that journey before. That's exactly what we want this summit to be. We want the people that have gone to Observation Point, who have succeeded with their EHR education, who have set up a governance structure that works, who have informatics programs that are making a difference. We want them to be our guides to Observation Point. Angel's Landing is great. If you want to go the hard way, go ahead and do it. You're welcome to. But if you can find an easier hike that gets you to the same point, that is our goal. So what can you expect from this summit? On this main stage, we had our class welcome right now. We will have a keynote from Dr. Brent James on process improvement. We will have a story from Intermountain Health and Indiana University Health about where they have started, where they have gone, how they've involved others in that improvement journey to make an impact on their own satisfaction. We'll have panels on burnout and turnover, getting buy-in from senior leadership. I know that can be a challenge sometimes where we know that what we're doing makes a difference, but how can we get the rest of our leadership team to buy into that concept? We'll have tabletop discussions. This is actually something I'm really excited about. We haven't done this at Arch Collaborative events before, but we're going to have concurrently, these are all happening at the same time. We've assigned you a room, so look on the back of your lanyard. You have an assignment there. We'll be talking about informatics, super users, and governance, trying to define those terms a little bit better and what activities are organizations doing there that are making a difference. We'll be publishing a white paper based on the conversations that we're having in that room. So please come to those rooms ready to actively participate and ready to share your learnings. We'll have many opportunities to network, to connect with others, both by topic and organization type. We're going to have a meeting where you will meet with people who are like you in a similar organization going through similar issues. We have the EHR vendors who are going to present on how they're using Arch Collaborative and how they're improving their offerings for the clinicians today. We have health system breakouts of organizations who have done things that are working. Their training programs, their sprints, their culture, their informatics structure, these are working. They have achieved very, very high results. So please go to these sessions and listen. We have, like Jenna mentioned, these partnership breakout sessions where there are organizations who are working with outside entities. You don't have to do this alone. There are people out there who can help, who have done this and are making a difference. So please go and learn from these sessions as well. A couple of important details for everyone to remember. This summit is only as successful as your engagement is. So please go and attend, listen, actively participate, take notes. Our goal is that everyone will leave this summit with insights, a plan, something that you can take back to your organization and implement and make a difference. Learning is great. Action is better. Take advantage of the breaks and the networking sessions. We listened to your feedback from our previous summits. We have expanded the time, the transition time between sessions, so you have 15 minutes to connect. We have networking sessions. Take advantage of these lunch, breakfasts, and dinners to connect with others as well. Even beyond the Arch Collaborative, KLAS Research has things that we can offer you, and we need your help. Last year, we published 90 reports. To do so, we collected 26,000 evaluations over the phone. We are always looking to connect with more people to get more insights. The more people we talk to, the better insights we can provide. This year, we plan on publishing over 100 reports, and we need 30,000 evaluations to do that. We have 2 individuals who are set up in that foyer out there who are able to schedule appointments with you. If you would like to talk about your technology, the solutions you're using, what's going well and what could be improved, please consider scheduling an appointment with us. It will make a significant difference. There are other summits that you can attend as well. Some upcoming ones that we have more than this, but these are some of the more recent upcoming ones. The Digital Health Investment Symposium is here. All of these are here in Utah, but September 12th and 13th. There's an interoperability summit. There's a patient, consumer, and innovation summit. So if these are of interest to you, come and find a KLAS employee. We would love to get you in contact with the people who are planning these events. This one is focused on the clinician experience, but these are also other very important topics. Okay, last thing, announcements. If you have not connected to the Wi-Fi yet, feel free to do so. KLAS Arch is the Wi-Fi login. The password is Arch, capital A, 2023. We do have a hashtag. If you would like to post about this summit, we would encourage you to do so, the things that you are learning. LinkedIn, Twitter, the new thread, if you have that. I don't know. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with all the different social media sites anymore. Look at the lanyards. So the color, oh, mine's not on. I took it off because it rubs on the mic. Look at the colors of the lanyards. It tells you kind of who the people are. So if you see a dark gray one or a black one, that is a KLAS team. So if you're looking for someone to find a question about the summit, find a black lanyard. We will help guide you. If you're looking to help find a healthcare organization, look at the blue. And some lights, it looks a little purple. So the blue, purplish, and then orange are the service firms and vendors. Last announcement, it is Melissa Michener's birthday. Melissa, are you here? Where's Melissa? Happy birthday, Melissa. You can blame Chris. Chris told us, so happy birthday to Melissa. Okay, so up next, breakout sessions. We're going to start. Thank you for listening today. These are the 6 sessions that are happening right now. So we have a 9-minute, sorry, I'm a minute behind. We have a 9-minute transition period. Please go and attend one of these rooms, take notes, actively listen, ask questions. We want this to be engaging. Leave with a plan. Thank you for coming today. All right.